Hi everybody, it's Dawn from Crafting on the Green. I hope you're well. Today I wanted to show you how to make a cute tissue box cover. So all you've got is your standard tissue box, and we've just made something that will slot over the top and make it pretty. So first of all, what we need to do is grab the trimmer, and using some grey granite cardstock, I'm going to cut two pieces that are 5 7/8 by 4 7/8. There we go. And then with these two, with the long side at the top, so where you've already cut at 5 7/8, we want to score at 1/2 inch on each side of it. So 1/2 inch that side, and then we'll turn it around and do 1/2 inch this side. So you've got two strips of 1/2 inch either side. And then we're going to do the same to this one. So again, make sure you've got your long side at the top, that should be at 5 7/8. And then again, we are going to score at 1/2 inch, then flip it and score at 1/2 inch again. So that's our first bit done. Next, with another sheet of grey granite, we're going to cut two pieces at 4 7/8 by 4 1/2. So again, 4 7/8. Just catches sometimes on the little bit of plastic there, so just make sure it's straight when you cut it. So 4 7/8 by 4 1/2. Okay. And then with another piece of grey granite, we're going to cut one piece at 5 7/8 by 5 1/2. And then what we're going to do is score at 1/2 inch on each side, all four sides. Okay, so that for the moment is our cutting and scoring with the trimmer. Now what we want to do next is we want to create the circle in the middle. Now what I would normally do is I would pop out from your tissue box this piece here and I would draw around it. However, I don't have a brand new tissue box, so I don't have a piece, but that's fine. I'm going to show you an alternative. So you can either use a die cut and cut yourself a circle or an oval, or you can just cut it, or you could do something like this to draw around, but that might be a bit too big. Maybe what I'll do is a slightly smaller circle-y one. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. So I'm just going to draw this one. So we're drawing in the centre of the one we've scored on all four sides. So there we go. So I've got my rough circle. Now I'm just going to use some scissors and just cut this out. So like I say, if you have an oval or a circle die, anything like that, you can use those instead. But I just want to show you how you can do it without as well. And it doesn't matter if it's quite rough because we're going to cover up the edge anyway. There we go. So we have one slightly rough circle. Okay. So now what we want to do, grab the scissors again, we're just going to wedge each of the corners. So for each of the 4 corners, you want to go in at a diagonal, and then on the opposite side also go in at a diagonal. So you'll end up with this kind of shape. So just cut into the corner score mark. There we go. And then for the 2 pieces here, we also want to do the same, but only for the corners. So we're just making some flaps that we can use to stick things together. There we go. It doesn't matter what angle you cut it at. You don't want it to be too either way. You don't want it to be so it's too diagonal here, or you don't really want it too close. So just roughly a 45-degree angle is absolutely fine. So we've got all of our pieces here. So you should have 2 with your tabs either side, 2 with no tabs at all, and your top piece which has 4 tabs all the way around. So what we're going to do now is stick it all together. So we're going to take a bone folder and just go over the creases. Okay. Right, there we go. So now we're going to stick it all together. I'm going to use some Tombow. Now, as you might be able to tell, it's a little bit sunny again this morning, which is lovely, but you want to be careful that when you're using Tombow or any other glue, the heat can obviously warm it up, so it might be a bit runnier. So bear that in mind. Now what we want to do, there's 2 different sizes. So you want to make sure that the side that you're going to stick down is actually on the right side of it. And yeah, that's fine. Because obviously they're, as you see, they measure slightly differently. So just make sure you're aware of what is going where before you start sticking. Otherwise you might get in a muddle. So I'm going to pop some glue on the tab. But what I like to do when I'm doing things like this, I don't want to risk it splodging everywhere. So I take a paintbrush, and it's a very gluey paintbrush now. It's not a fancy one or anything. Obviously I don't want you to ruin any really nice paintbrushes, but just spread it out because we don't want it splodging anywhere. But be aware when you do this, it does take away your wiggle room. So once you've stuck it down, generally that's kind of it. So just be careful that you're lined up before you give it a push. There we go. Now I'm just going to turn it and do the same again. Using a paintbrush just helps you control the glue a little bit more. Especially with a glue like Tombow. I do love Tombow, but if it's not stuck to anything and it dries tacky. So especially when you're using it for a cover of something, you want to make sure it doesn't do that, otherwise you're going to end up sticking it to the tissue box, which we don't really want to do. There we go. And then this bit should go there. If you find you've put too much on here when you're using your paintbrush, you can just take it off and have lots on your paintbrush ready for the next one. Right, there we go. Okay, and then final side. So you can see now we're making a nice big box shape. Using sheets of A4, you can't make a box big enough in one, so you have to make it in panels. In fact, even using 12 by 12 is still not big enough. But it's not difficult to make it in panels like this. I'm building up my glue a little bit too much there. And just wipe some of it off on the corner. Okay. Right, so again, we'll just make sure we've got that the right way. We don't want to stick down the wrong side. And there we go. Perfect. Right then. So this is our box template. So now what we want to do is pop some glue on these tabs, and we're going to stick them together to make the box shape. So again, same again. And we'll make sure it's lined up. There we go. Could do with a little bit of a push in there. Perfect. And then we're going to do the same again on this side. So this is the complicated bit, but I think you might agree it's not actually all that complicated. Right, line that one up too. There we go. It's worth checking before you move on to the next one that you are happy with how it's stuck, because if you do need to pull it apart and redo it, you don't want it when the whole box is stuck together, if you can help it. So. Since I've had my tissue box cover in the living room, I've had quite a few comments on it, people just saying it just looks nice and pretty. And you know what, I think rather than just the design that you get on your typical tissue box, I actually do think it's quite nice. Plus it's something you could change with the seasons. You know, you can make a Christmas one, a summer one, an autumn one, a Halloween one. You could have all sorts, which I think would be quite lovely. So you could just change them as you want to. Right. There's one. In fact, I think I might have to make a Halloween one because that sounds like fun. Right. So there we go. So there's our main box. And before we go further, just double check it definitely fits on the box that you're doing. So this is just a standard size box from Sainsbury's, I believe. A cube selection. So hopefully all the other cubes will fit that size as well. Right, so we've got our box. So what we want to do now is to decorate. So I'm only going to do a very little bit of decoration. I'm not going to go all the way through it because then it's, you know, this is what I did last time. I've popped some succulents on the front. But I'm going to show you the DSP and how to cover the top. So I've already got some DSP cut out here. The sizes that you want to cut them to, you need two pieces that are 4 6/8 by 4 6/8. So you need 2 squares. And then 3 pieces that are 4 6/8 by 4 3/8. So let's just figure out which is which. I think those are the 2. No, those are the 3 and these are the 2. So you'll find that they fit quite well. They can only really go on one panel. So what I'm going to do first, however, I'm going to do the top. So the top is one of the pieces that is 4 6/8 by 4 3/8, so it's slightly not a square. So what I'm just going to do is stick that straight on top, and I know that covers the hole, but we will come back to that in just a minute. So I'm not going to put the glue onto the DSP, I'm just going to pop it around here, but I am going to put a little layer of glue right around the edge of the DSP. So that's just to obviously make sure that the edge sticks down. Because when you're sticking it onto the cardstock rather than the DSP, obviously you might misjudge. But we don't want the glue in the centre because it's not going to go anywhere yet. So we'll just stick that on top, try and line it up so it's nice and straight. Oh, I do apologise about the noise. If you can hear background noise, the bin men are coming to empty the rubbish today, and it's recycling, so it's lots of glass. Right, so now we've got this stuck on top. What I'm going to do is take a craft knife, and you can feel roughly where the edge is going to be. So I'm going to put a hole in the middle, and I'm just gently going to work along until I feel resistance, and then I know I've hit the cardstock. You don't want to cut through the cardstock, you just want to start by making a slit. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip it into a cross. Again, when you feel resistance, stop. So cut gently. There we go. And then I'm going to cut it again. Now you can cut as many triangles into this as you want to. The more triangles you have, technically the smoother it will be around the opening. However, we're going to cover it anyway with some ribbon, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, so something like that. So what we're going to do is end up pushing it all inside. Now, do it gently. Sorry, the bin men are getting closer. Do it gently because some of the edges you might not have quite gone all the way to the edge. So I'm just going to do a little bit of extra snipping in here just to make sure I've actually got right to the edge. Okay, I think they're good. Okay, so what we are going to do is tuck them all under. We are going to stick it, but before we stick it, it just means you can see. And actually, that's not a bad shape. What's that? An octagon, I think. So that's not a bad old shape. I'm quite happy with that. But so we are going to put ribbon around it anyway. But if you wanted, you could do more slits into the triangles, so it would be even more edges, if you like. And as you see inside here, we have got lots of little triangles sticking in. But what I want to do, I'm just going to get a little piece of scrap card. I'm going to make myself a little glue palette here. So we'll dollop some glue on. And then what we want to do, let's see if I can do it so you can see. So basically we're going to pop some glue onto each of the triangles. Don't need a lot, we just want to make sure it's going to be held out the way. And it's easier with a paintbrush because it's got a long arm on it, so you can actually reach. Okay, nearly done. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it back round again, and this time it's going to stick. So we'll hook our finger underneath and just help it stick under the lid, just like that. And then you can see it's made a pretty star on the inside. So that's our top DSP stuck on. Now I'm just going to do the rest of the sides. So again, just measure to make sure you've got the right piece and the right way up. Obviously, if you have pattern on here, do make sure that you know which way up your pattern is going. So when you're cutting, you want to make sure that the shorter side is going to be the width of it rather than the length. There we go. And we'll take one of the bigger ones. Yep. So always double check just to make sure it fits before I go to stick it on, because what we don't want is to cover it in glue and then find actually we've cut it wrongly, or it's the wrong way up or something. There we go. If you need to give it a bit of extra help to stick, because obviously when you push on it it's a bit wobbly, turn it upside down and then just push from the inside of the box. Right, next bit is, there we go. Oops. Give that an extra push. And then one bit left. Okay, so now we've got a decorated box. So the next step, we will add on some ribbon, just to give it a little something around there. And then the decoration, as I say, is up to you. I've gone for the succulents myself. What I'm doing here is adding some tear and tape, and I'm just going to go all the way around the edge. I'm only doing it in small bits because I want it to kind of go round a bit. So obviously the longer they are, the less rounded you can be. Okay. Right, one last little bit. Okay. I cut my nails yesterday and now I don't have my thumbnail anymore. Isn't it funny how we rely so much on one nail and then when it's not quite as long, you're just not used to it. Nearly there. Right, so the way that I did it, took one end and we're just going to pop that on here. Now I just gently go around to try and make it a rounded shape. I want it to ruffle up a little bit, and obviously I want it to stick onto the tear and tape that's in place. So you can just a little bit at a time, just follow it round. There we go, and it's going to overlap. I should say already, I actually obviously pre-cut my ribbon, and terribly of me, I can't remember the size, so I apologise. But I would say that if you're just using ribbon on a roll, do exactly what I've done here. Keep it on the roll and then just cut it to size when you've done. Right, I am going to add a tiny bit more tear and tape. If I can find the end. And what I'm going to do is just overlap it slightly so it's now on the ribbon as well as on the box itself. And this will just help hold it in place on the overlap. There we go. And we'll just trim that off just like that. Oh, a couple of my bits are trying to escape underneath. Okay, so there's your tissue box. Put it on the right way. So as I say, feel free to decorate however you wish. I added on top a couple of smaller succulents here to cover the joins because I did this oval shape in 2 pieces rather than just the one. But yeah, I think they're very pretty. Right, well I hope you've enjoyed watching. I hope you're going to give it a go. I'd love to see what you come up with, so please feel free to message me and show me your wonderful creations. Yeah, that's it. I've been Dawn from Crafting on the Green. As I say, please subscribe and ring the bell if you like what you see and you want to see more. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.